Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel podcast. My name is Jeremy,
And my name is Ken.
and today we are going to go into the rom-com world once again because man, last week was pretty not romantic friendly.
I mean,
There
there
was
was
so-
some romance. It was just a different kind of like courting.
yeah.
It wasn't a comedy though, except for Stilgar. But tune in last week, right?
Yes. Might as well call him Pedro Pascal. Anyway, we are also live streaming right now. Oh, by the way, I totally missed it. We are going to be talking about anyone but you.
Woo!
Yeah. So, but right now, we're also streaming live on YouTube. Ken, I think we have someone in the comments right now,
Yeah,
actually.
we do. We do have our live audience. So we wanted obviously to shout out our lovely live audience, those that are online right now or are in, they're preparing to join a little bit later on. We understand that obviously we have two shows, so we're gonna have people kind of popping in and out, and we already have some comments already in our comments section. So feel free to ask us questions throughout the episode, especially while we're, within our, various segments. We'll definitely set aside time throughout the episode to address those questions and interact with our live audience. This is the reason why we started doing this live stream here in season 7, so that we can connect more with our built-in audience that we've done for the last, can you believe it, almost 4 years. That's pretty crazy.
Time is flying by. It feels like we're still in 2020,
For real though. Oh my
but
goodness.
almost 4 years. Yeah, like we've got Fasho Jax he's in the house right now. What's up, Fasho Jax?
Yes. Check out last week's episode. He was actually one of our guests. Lizan Al Gaib is who we call him.
Yes, he already knows. He already knows. All right. Today, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about a story where Ben and Bay meet Bay B.
B.
B. Yeah. I keep messing that up, man. I did that last week. It's like, oh yeah, we're talking about Sydney Sweeney. Bay. It's like, oh
No,
no.
it's
B.
the way I think about it, it's like Bae is BAE because she is Bae.
There we go.
but the character is BEA.
Yeah, I gotta. Okay, B and Ben meet, have a one night stand, and get along really well. Unfortunately, in true rom com fashion, they have a misunderstanding, and they just get into hijinks throughout this movie, get reunited at their friends and sisters, opposite people, uh, their wedding, and they pretend to fall in love with each other until they actually do. We are talking about Anyone But You, starring Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. So, spoiler warning. I don't know if I spoiled it already, but whatever. That this movie came out in December, and it streamed for like 3 months, man. It's
Oh, it did?
pretty crazy. Yeah.
Oh shoot, I didn't even know. I think by the time we started streaming it, it was gone.
Yeah, yeah. It was like in theaters all the way until probably a little past Valentine's Day. Who knows if
Mm.
it maybe it's still there. Because the Valentine's Day rom coms. We haven't had a lot of rom coms actually in recent years. But I am gonna maneuver into the double feature. And Ken, the double feature, to remind our audience, is where we bring up each of us brings up a question and we don't know. We're gonna ask each other, and we're gonna keep it light and fresh here on the double feature. My question: if you remember, we had this little segment before a couple seasons ago called Binge or Cringe, right? Where we talked about the worst things and best things of the movie sometimes. I'm going to throw a wrench in that a little bit
Ooh.
and ask you, what is the best and worst aspects of the two main leads? So
Oh.
it's kind of, like, for example, not necessarily like, oh, she was annoying. I guess you could say like, oh, he was annoying, she was annoying, but yeah, kind of if you were in that universe and like there were actual real people,
Oh,
and you're
okay.
kind of like, oh, this is like they're dating contestants. What's like the worst thing? What's kind of like a red flag, possibly, or a green flag for them?
Basically, their characteristics. If
Yes.
you were in that universe.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, I can. Do I pick one character or the other, or for both?
It's up to you. You
Or
can choose.
okay. Um, I want to say, let's start off with the good. I feel like the best characteristics, and I feel like this is actually applies to both Ben and B, is that they're both very my goodness, they're very charismatic. I feel like they attract a lot of people. I feel like they have magnetic personalities in that they're pretty witty. I mean, you could tell by a lot of the sharp quips that they would go, especially when they were kind of butting heads and they hated each other.
Hmm.
Um, but you obviously you I feel like whoever did the casting, I felt did a really good job in casting the supporting cast. So like, their friends and their family around them, and even like the randos like Bitch Hemsworth and others. I feel like they um I felt like there was a lot of energy within each of the scenes of this movie, and so I feel like their best characteristic for both Ben and B was their charisma.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that because, like, the two of them when they're just together, they're like
Hmm.
two alphas trying to go at each other, and I guess that's how it kind of usually goes in these type of movies. Like when we talked about 10, not 10 things I hate about you, kind of, but How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Hmm. Hmm.
Definitely both alphas going at each other.
Such a good movie.
Did you have a worst
Oh,
characteristic?
worst. Okay.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure if you wanted to go best, worst, worst, but yeah,
Okay.
for worst, um, let's start with I guess Ben. Ben obviously has been unlucky in love, so I feel like a lot of I guess his worst characteristic is putting himself out there and trusting people. It was very evident early on, obviously, obviously this was the catalyst for the whole movie where they had an amazing first interaction. They got to hang out, had spent some alone time together. He did the whole grilled cheese. I was getting chef vibes with that grilled cheese.
Hmm.
And then it you could just genuinely see that they were into each other, like that gaga phase. I think they mentioned that within the movie.
Hmm.
And then obviously B wasn't really thinking. They reveal that a little bit later in that scene, but she leaves, and all of his insecurities basically festered. And when who was his friend's name again? I forgot.
Shoot, man, I forgot a lot of the side characters' names. Like
Pete. It was
Pete.
Pete.
I'm pulling my DB real quick too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
when he was talking to Pete, when Pete dropped by, he was like he just wanted to save face, and obviously he didn't know that B was came back and
Yeah.
witnessed that whole thing, but he really just wanted to protect his heart. And so I feel like that's just the characteristic that's probably the worst in Ben. For
Yeah.
B, I feel like she has been so sheltered and only kind of knew one like she kind it seemed like she came from a family of where she was well off, and so I felt like everything was kind of laid out for her and everything. But at the same time, her I guess worst characteristic isn't really a really terrible characteristic. It's that she just was undecided. She didn't know what she wanted because
Yep.
she just grew accustomed to having everything just there for her, and you could tell. And one of the things that I could tell that there was a instant chemistry between the two. She was very forthright with being iffy about staying in law school even early on. Something that I caught on a second viewing.
Well,
Before
only
my
to Ben, not to
only to
anybody
Ben.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only to Ben. Yes, you're right. And I feel like it's something that you only share with people that you just genuinely feel comfortable with. And so, yeah, like I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel like it's actually a pretty realistic thing because, a lot of people do put up their walls. And so, um, but yeah, I think it just hindered like her love life essentially.
I agree because one of my worst things for I'm gonna start off with Ben and I'll work my way to the best. Worst things for Ben, I think, was I feel like he should have moved on from that one other girl that he
Mags,
liked, Mags. Yeah,
Margaret.
and just because I don't know, it felt like he should have got the hints that she wasn't really into to Ben anymore. The way she kind of like treated him, like the way he got dumped before from her, I feel like is he probably should have moved on from her by that
Hmm.
point. Um, but for B, I would say it's kind of like the undecided thing also, but her not really being more outspoken about the what's it called, arranged relationship she had with what's his name, he
Jonathan.
looked like Jonathan, Jonathan
Jonathan.
Winston. No, but too much John Wick references. But yeah, with Jonathan, because Jonathan, I thought when he came in, he was gonna be that plot device. It's like, oh, I'm the bad boy that you liked and all that stuff, and but then he was genuinely a nice guy too.
It was
So
a
it's
nice
like,
curveball that he was actually a nice guy. I kind of felt
yeah,
bad for him.
exactly. And I was like, if this guy's also a nice guy, he's clearly a pretty decent guy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, give him the decency to be like, oh, I'm not interested in you in that way. She was kind of keeping him around for like a safety blanket, and I think that's not good. And he flew all the way from the U.S. to Australia. I mean that her
Luckily, it was
parents,
on the parents' points.
yeah.
Hey, if you if
So
you if you want to send me to Australia using your points, I'm not gonna say no too.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's like she should have treated him a little bit better. Just saying. But yeah, the best would probably be their humor together, uh, Ben and B, especially in the some of the smaller jokes, like when B would eat his cookie when he was falling asleep, and then she listened to him listening to
His Serenity song.
his Serenity song, unwritten by
Yeah,
Natasha Bedingfield.
yeah, yeah.
Betting
That's,
what?
yeah, Beddingfield.
Okay, okay, yeah. And I was like, this is good. I like this. It's very. You know what I like about this rom com? It's not like a raunchy rom com. Yeah, we got a shot of freaking discount Hemsworth, but
Yeah, we got our fair share of nudity. I mean, it was rated R, but
yeah,
um, in terms, I think I know where you're going with this. So only because we've done some comedies on here. Obviously, that's not your forte, and knowing you now for this is what episode 114. I know that raunchy humor is not your favorite, and I bet you appreciated the fact that there really wasn't that much raunchy humor, even though there were some adult aspects of this movie.
yeah, exactly. I think that's what helped this movie. Um, because I feel like besides that, it's a little by the mill, run of the mill type of movie, but I think that helped me push it to. I like it a little bit more because of that.
Interesting. So you did like this movie.
I guess you'll have to see in my real review.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, I just want to make sure we're cool with your half of the double feature. Was there anything
Mm-hmm.
else?
No, I think you're good to go.
All right, cool. So, well, for my half of the double feature, I actually thought of a couple questions just in case, because I wasn't sure if you were gonna think of this. So, actually, let's talk about the more juicier of the topics, because I feel like the other one's more of a we could discuss in a later segment. So, for my half of the double feature, I kind of talked about it a little bit on, I guess, the worst aspects, from your half of the double feature. Um, and again, this question applies to both just Ben and B, because obviously they were the main leads, the main
Mm-hmm.
male and female leads. So, Jeremy, who do you think was more afraid of their feelings,
Oh,
Ben or B, and feelings for each other?
mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with Ben on
Mm,
this. I think he was running from a more like I think deep down he knew he loved her the most, even though he was going after Mags. It
yeah.
was like even when he was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go after her," I did not believe him at all. Like with B, I feel like she was genuinely like, "Oh, I like let this guy in? Do I get with Jonathan?" um,
Jonathan.
Winston. Um, you gotta always answer back, guys, when people say Jonathan like that. But yeah, Ben from the beginning when I feel like he was more heartbroken about B leaving after one night than
Mm.
Mags after they dated for a bit. And I feel like deep down he was happy that they were faking that relationship. I don't know. I feel like he's always known since the beginning. And so when he ran away after their uh, night activities uh, for the second
The
time,
second time, yeah, second
yes,
time someone slipped out of bed.
yes, he's the one that left, and I feel like that was the final nail of like he's the one that's most afraid of intimacy.
I get what you're saying. I
uh,
do. I mean, that's the reason why I asked this question, because I feel like it's split 50-50. You could argue both sides. But why did B have to say that thing when they were spooning? Like, why does it always what did she say? Why does it always seems I'm always making mistakes or whatever?
yeah.
And I
Oh
was like, what are
man,
you doing?
why would you say that?
You just had like an amazing night. Obviously, they were trying to obviously do the whole fake it's like Titanic me.
Yeah.
and they genuinely had some real moments together after, obviously Ben had to jump in and go after B to make sure she didn't drown.
Mm-hmm.
And then they shared several moments, obviously floating around in the buoy, obviously getting rescued by the chopper and everything. And obviously they shared some night activities. And I mean, I don't know if it's post-coital clarity where you're just blabbering whatever. I'm like, oh my god, B, what are you doing?
I know that was pretty bad. Dang, that is a big one.
So I'm like, I actually don't really fault Ben for leaving
What
there. Ah.
during that night? Yeah, yeah.
Especially if you think about how B and Jonathan,
Winston.
after they've been together, they said 10 years, right? Basically
Yeah,
since they were kids.
yeah.
How do you compete with that?
That's true. That's true. You don't.
Oh my god. So to just play the other side of the fence, I'll go with B.
Okay.
I feel like, again, she had been so accustomed to just having everything for her. She even admitted it to herself that her and Jonathan. Okay, I think
Yeah,
I think it's played out.
I think we
We played
burned that joke to the ground already.
Yeah, all right. I might burn it one more time. Anyway,
Yeah, maybe soup du jour.
yeah, her and Jonathan were together for so long, and she admitted to Ben, if I'm not mistaken, that
Mhm.
the problem was they never fought.
Mhm.
Everything was safe. Everything was laid out. And again, I feel like the director did a really good job in portraying Jonathan basically being a really nice guy, genuinely a nice guy. And I don't know, she obviously it didn't make her happy.
Mhm.
And I feel like there was a lot of things going on. Obviously, pressure from her parents in terms of staying in law school, but she didn't really want to do that. Coming out of a relationship. And so I think, her natural instincts on night one after
Mhm.
that grilled cheese.
That made me want grilled cheese, man.
You know what? When I screened it, I actually had a grilled cheese.
Okay, fair enough.
It was good. I mean, it was just whatever cheese we had. I was just like, we got some pepper jack. Okay, I'm not mad at that. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of the signs were more, they snuck up on B a little bit more. I feel like she wasn't aware, and then when she was, then she was like, oh shoot, like
Hmm. Yeah, that. See, those are good points. It's like asking, who's dumb, who's dumber in Dumb and Dumber, which
Lloyd or Harry.
Lloyd or Harry, which we have posed that question. So,
Twice.
what? Yeah, that's true.
Check out our first episode and our 100th episode on our weekly reloaded episode. Shameless plug.
Yes. And I know some people are watching right now. Let us know. Comment down below if we're posing all these questions. Ben, B, um, worst characteristics, best characteristics, who's the most afraid of falling in love. Let us know in the comments, guys.
Yeah, especially if you've seen this movie and you feel strongly one way or the other. If you identify on Ben's side or B's side.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like a B or do you feel like a Ben?
The A side or the B side. Oh, you see what I did there?
There we go.
Don't forget to tip your waitress. 2 drink minimum.
We'll move on to the dailies. So basically opening up anything for the movie. I'm gonna bring up the first one.
Okay.
I really like the opening scene. Just the way they meet at the coffee place. Their interactions just right off the bat. I'm like, oh,
It's good stuff.
oh. And
plus they cooked that bread that they bought from there to make the grilled cheese.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
But I think what's smart about this movie, putting it in that situation, that coffee shop, was that I feel like it gives the viewer that false sense of, oh, this could happen to me. I can meet Glenn Powell or Sydney Sweeney.
What, you can't?
Never tell me the odds.
I do have a nitpick of that scene though.
Okay.
Here's my nitpick. Upon rewatch, especially obviously when the catalyst for B being in that coffee shop in the first place was to use their bathroom. When she finally uses the bathroom, was it me? I know she's, there was a couple of short jokes thrown in there throughout the movie, but dude, that hand dryer blower thing was really high up.
It was high.
It was like eye level with B. I'm like, no way. That's so unrealistic. Come on now.
Is it though? I feel like there are some places or some restaurants that I feel like forced it, and it's pretty high, sometimes even too low,
Oh,
you
I don't know.
know? But
I
yeah, that one was kind of weird because it was above the sink and she was like doing the splits in between the sink and the toilet to
and she
like
still had to elevate
yeah, she
to
was planking up there.
to dry that crotchular
Jeans.
area.
Yes. That seemed like I don't know. It seemed like a lot of water to cover that much space. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm glad she
comedy.
finally thought of the more logical thing was just to take off the pants since there was no one there anyway,
Yeah, that's true.
instead of having to reverse plank that way.
But like the model of air dryer
Yeah.
that they had, that would have not
Oh,
dried
done.
fast enough.
Yeah, no. Unless they did it 5 hours later. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, with the amount of water she spilled, that's not drying by the time she's going
Yeah,
out.
especially with denim.
Mm-hmm.
Denim takes forever to dry. I got a bonus question for the
Mm-hmm.
dailies. Actually, it's kind of a because we were
Do
talking
it.
about the exes, right? We were talking about both Mags and Jonathan. I mean, we've
Mm-hmm.
said his name like 30 million times already.
Uh-huh.
Um, my question to you is: which of the exes would have worked out better, Margaret with Ben or Jonathan with B?
Oh shoot. I think it would probably been Jonathan would be. I feel like eventually Mags probably would have gotten tired of Ben again and gone for a different discount Hemsworth. And because there's three of them. There's three Hemsworths.
Yeah.
So she probably would have gone to another one. I feel like B, but not saying that it would work out well between B and Jonathan. I feel like they'd probably get married, but then after 3 years get divorced, and she would be alone for that time. Who knows?
Mm. I,
Sequel.
I think I'll go the other route. I feel like Margaret and Ben would have worked out better, but because really I'm thinking about it in shades of horribleness. I feel like yeah, the worst thing that can happen with Margaret and Ben is that they just break up. But I feel like with B and Jonathan, I think there's a chance where they have a couple kids,
Mm,
they pretend that life's okay or whatever, and then it just ends up way worse because then they get divorced with kids.
okay, I see. Yeah, I think I kind of sneakily worked my like I could have went further, like you. It's like I said, divorced after 3 years, but yeah, most likely it's like and then they would figure out, it's like we've fallen out of love, but it's like,
Yeah.
were we ever in love?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, I want to mention. I'll mention it in Soup du Jour.
Okay.
But Ben and Margaret are kind of a weird thing. I'm like, I feel like another nitpick of this movie. They were not really believable as a couple. Like
I
even when they were like, shoot, I guess they were kissing at the end, but like even in the middle where, just obviously they were talking about how okay, well they're gonna Ben and B are gonna fake this whole relationship just so that they can get both Jonathan and Mags to feel jealous or whatever, and obviously that plot device was okay. Well, Mags is now seeing Ben in a whole different light.
hmm
Um, that's just a recipe for disaster. and
I
I feel
agree.
like I never got the feeling that Ben was into Mags at all because to your point or your earlier point, I should say, I felt like Ben had eyes for B basically the entire movie, no matter what. It was just
Mm,
maybe at first when he first saw Mags at the beach when he just first arrived was because obviously that was like the first time they probably saw each other since they broke up.
okay. See that like I feel like with Ben and Margaret though, I think they had higher highs and lower lows
Mm,
than B and Jonathan. B and Jonathan are just like plateau the
stable.
entire time. Yeah. So it's like,
Boring. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. I think that Ben seeing her, it's like, oh, he remembers the fieriness, right, of the moments that he has with her. But I think I agree. Maybe they did that on purpose too, because you don't want your leads to really get along, have good chemistry with the other one, right?
Yeah.
So it's I think they rode the line a little bit with Jonathan because they made him, like you said, the curveball where he wasn't like a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was very unexpected. I was expecting at least the other shoe to drop eventually, but it never did.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like he would betray her somehow.
Mm-hmm. Or snitch or something.
Yeah, it's like I'm
But that would have been
marrying.
too cliche, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm marrying you because I want your family's money or something like that.
I know. I want the family's points.
You know
um,
how many airlines I could take?
I know. Seriously, there's so many countries to visit. I have a all-time banger of ending of the dailies segment, but I have another question before that.
Do it.
Obviously there was a couple of Titanic references
Mhm.
within the movie. What was your favorite Titanic reference?
I, didn't they say like um I mean, I like the gesture of him jumping into the water
Uh-huh.
because I feel like in terms of, I think obviously the obvious joke was, oh, there was definitely enough space on that door, right?
Yeah.
But typically in rom-coms, they're not very high budget or anything.
Yeah.
And so I like the shot of when they're going up into the helicopter and stuff.
That
I
was
mean, that
pretty
was the
nice.
result of them doing the Jack and Rose
Mm-hmm.
Titanic holding scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
what about you?
Um, I'm gonna go with a random one because I want to take the time to mention the mom and dad. The
Mhm.
mom, I forget who plays her, but I recognize the dad, Dermot Mulroney's character. Um, and I love that fact when they're in the kitchen after the night activities the next morning, and he's
Uh,
like, "What are those handprints?" And he's like just wiping.
yeah, yeah,
Because obviously the handprints is like pretty iconic shot from James Cameron's
yeah.
um
Titanic.
Titanic. So yeah, it was such a random thing, but I was like, oh man, it's so funny. He just like took the time to actually clean it, wax on, wax off style.
That she must have had pretty dirty hands, man,
No, I
because
looked
those
at it
things were
again.
clear.
I looked at it again. It was actually Ben's hands because
Oh, really?
he was like
Ah, okay.
pouncing, and then he put both hands up there.
Yeah, you rewinded for research.
Yes, I did. Just for this podcast, I really wanted to make sure that I was well educated.
Yeah, there you go. He did it for you guys.
Just for you guys in the live stream. That last daily that I wanted to bring up is a
Mhm.
random one. So take the time to think. If you had to think of a Serenity song, what would it be? I have to ask. I
Okay,
felt like it was such a huge pop culture thing from this movie was the unwritten song by Natasha
okay.
Bedingfield.
Which, okay, giving myself time to think though. Don't they were horrible singers.
Yes, they were.
Like, for your Serenity song, okay.
Yeah. But you know what? I did enjoy kind of like the old schoolness of
Yes.
like ending a movie with a musical number. I in a weird way, obviously completely different kind of comedy, but I
Uh-huh.
enjoyed There's Something About Mary, something that we a movie that we covered early on in our podcast. Remember how they ended up with Build Me Up Buttercup?
Hmm.
And I love how they interjected actual scenes with like kind of blooper scenes. It
Yeah.
was a nice little montage. I was like, oh wait, was that part of the movie? Oh wait, no, it was. Oh no, okay, this part's the whole like behind the scenes stuff for the song.
Yeah, I like when comedies have like
Liberties.
creative credits and
Yeah.
they get to, it's like, oh, either they go back and like add more scenes during the credits, or they have bloopers, or like this, they have like the cast just having fun singing the song. Because I'm sure that they probably listened to that song a million times on set to
Yeah.
like actually get the words right.
Yep.
Um, to answer the question,
Mhm.
I'm going Only Time by Enya.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
remember that song?
Yeah.
Do you remember the commercial with Jean-Claude Van Damme when he's doing the splits between two Volvos? It's
I do
that
not.
song.
I gotta look that up on YouTube, like maybe on
Yeah.
the break or something.
Yeah, definitely look that up eventually. And
Do you want to sing a little bit of it?
I'm not gonna sing it. I have it ready here on Spotify. I'm still a little congested. For people who listened to last week's Dune podcast, they could probably tell I was a little under the weather, and I still like am a little congested. So I'm not even gonna try. Here, it's this song.
Oh, it's kind of cutting in and out.
Cut it in and out.
Oh, this song. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I've heard it. I just didn't know the title. Okay.
yeah. Because
Yeah, like, that's a straight up real Serenity song, not like a Natasha. Because I was thinking more along the lines of Natasha Bedingfield type
I
of
love
song.
Pocket Full of Sunshine. I know, because that was the first song that popped in my head
Yeah.
that would like calm me down.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you?
It's funny. I think a couple of weeks ago, I shared with my one last thing. I watched the Bob Marley One Love song, and I feel like really any Bob Marley song, it just puts me in a good mood.
See,
But if I had to pick one, I like Three Little Birds.
there you go.
It's like, oh man, like especially on
Do
a
you wanna
Friday or
sing?
something like that. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Oh, so
Yeah.
good.
Ooh.
It's like one of those where I'll play it like either on a rough day or it's Friday morning. Okay, I just want to start my day off really well at work. Just get through the day, and we got the weekend, 2 days off and everything. So, I might do that in a couple days again.
There we go, man. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
yeah. It always puts me in a good mood.
Any other last minute dailies you want to share?
No. That I really just wanted to end on just highlighting the Serenity song. I feel like it was a good thing to I guess highlight. Just for longevity's sake for this movie.
Yeah, I get that, and I love that it felt like a early 2000s rom com.
That's because it is. Okay, so just talking about strictly the song, that song, and I don't know if you remember watching MTV, but I do during my youth. One of the guilty pleasure TV shows that I would watch is The Hills. And the theme song to The Hills was Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield.
Really? I did not know that.
And then the main character, LC, Lauren Conrad, actually kind of reminds me of actually, I should say this more. Let me back up. Sydney Sweeney actually reminds me of a 2024 version of Lauren Conrad, because I used to have a big crush on Lauren Conrad back in the day.
It might be just a throwback. Whoever put up the cast and director.
I think so. I'll send you the link to the music credits. Like the opening title or whatever for The Hills. You're gonna be like, oh my god, it's so
I'll
good.
send you the Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right, guys, let's go on to the real review. Because Ken, I don't know whether or not you actually like this movie or not. Like based on what we've talked about so far, I am curious.
Well, you'll find out in the next couple of minutes, right?
yeah, you gotta let me know, man. Here we go, guys.
All right, here is my real review. I am unwritten, can't read my mind. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to just do that. Anyway, Yes, there is some really bad lines, some really telegraphed rom-com checkpoints, and just some all-around silliness. But you know what? I'm here for all of it.
I like it.
Both Ben and B are just smoldering when they're on screen, whether they're hot for each other or hate each other's guts. Ben and B have excellent chemistry together, and the supporting casts are mostly memorable. And I mean, who couldn't love the setting in just filming in beautiful Sydney? All I can say is I'm reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibition. Oh shit. I'm actually giving Anyone But You an I Love You 3000 score of 1890. A solid 63% out of 3000.
That's a good score. That's a good score, guys. If you love this movie, remember, like, rom-coms are hard.
Very
to
hit or
like-
miss.
They're hard to be good.
Yeah.
More misses than hits.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think so too.
Okay, for me, here we go. Anyone But You is a serviceable rom-com that relies heavily on its very attractive stars. They're both very attractive. But it doesn't revolutionize the genre, but it is a welcome addition to an era that, quite frankly, doesn't have like any rom-coms in theaters. Especially when adult rom-coms, like nowadays, it's all teen rom-coms, not as many adult rom-coms, especially rated R ones. There's not really anything gut-busting about like the jokes. Some scenes that probably take it a little too far, even, but it rides the line of being good enough through the bickering and chemistry of its main leads. I am going 1830 out of 3000, so that is 61%. So fresh.
It's pretty close.
I know.
We're just off by 2 percentage points.
I think my first watch, I liked it a lot.
Mhm.
And then when I watched it the second time, I didn't like it as much. But I still enjoyed it.
I actually liked it about the same amount both times.
Yeah, it was like,
it was just, obviously for me, the second viewing is always like, oh, I didn't catch that. And
Yeah.
I at full stop, I told Jeremy this. Actually, I've seen it 3 total times, really 2.5, because the first time I completely missed a lot of the details of the first 30 or 40 minutes because it was more on in the background, and then all of a sudden I just started watching it. I was like glued. So yeah, I thought it was pretty steady for me. Nothing really too like low or too high. I don't know. It was entertaining throughout.
okay. It scored a Jonathan on the scale of characters.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Oh shoot.
All right, but let's get to one of our favorite things to do here on the podcast, and it is to play Guess the Rotten Tomatoes score. And right now, to update all of you, or to remind everyone, that Ken is currently winning 3-1. So let's see if I can close the lead a little bit. And spoiler alert for last episode, we tied last episode, so that kind of sucked for me.
Yeah.
But here we go, Ken. Your guess for Anyone But You.
Well, I feel like critics will be a little bit harsher on rom-coms just because, rom-coms don't really have a great plot usually. And most of the times, jokes don't really land. So I thought that they might like it, but not. There's going to be some haters. So I was thinking borderline fresh, but because there are more haters than likers, a little bit slightly below, I'm thinking 57%.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Literally You're like reading off my notes because that's literally almost like word for word what I said. Because I was like, oh yeah, it's hard for rom coms to score good on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like if it's a 70, that's a
That's a
really
really
good
good
rom.
one. No, it's
I
like an
was-
all timer right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's like all time classic, and it's only 70. But and then you're like, okay, I think it's got a borderline between fresh and rotten. And I was like, but I'm gonna go. I feel like they're gonna go a little lower, and I said 56%.
Holy shoot. Dang it. Both are I Love You 3000 and Rotten Tomatoes. Very close. But
Very close.
who actually won?
And here is the reveal, everyone, of the score for Guess the Rotten Tomatoes. It is
Oh my god.
55%. Wait, only 98 reviews considering, its popularity.
My goodness. You could tell our scores are getting pretty honed in with Rotten Tomatoes.
I think so. After it's what season? We're on season 7, right?
Yeah, season 7. There's 120 plus movies just because we covered multiple ones on a few episodes.
Yeah, so I think we are honing in. We're pretty tuned into the critics, but yeah. Sorry, Ken. Updated score: 3 for Ken, 2 for me.
Well, I mean, I was bound to not get a point on an episode, so I still got the lead. But
Still
yeah,
got the lead, man.
you closed the gap for sure.
Next week's gonna be a little interesting, or not next week, I should say. The next episode, we are gonna be watching a streaming movie. So, what are we watching?
Yes, we are. Actually, next week we are taking a break. So in 2 weeks, mark it on your calendar. We're recording this on the 13th for this live stream. March 27th, we meet an ex-UFC fighter, Dalton, as he takes a job as a bouncer at a Florida Keys Roadhouse. What can go wrong in this remake of the 1989 classic Roadhouse 2024? And you know what? Roadhouse is doing something that it used to be, well, in recent years, more of the norm, but it's a little less more of the norm. Just because, we're back in theaters now. This one's streaming exclusively on Prime Video. Is that right?
Yeah, exclusively on Prime. Not sponsored by Amazon. But yeah, Roadhouse, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, directed by Doug Liman. So that's an interesting combo right there.
Yes.
And we're gonna cover that movie.
And correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory serves me right, this was one of your most anticipated movies that you revealed last week, didn't you?
Yes, it's one of my more risky movies that I put on for most anticipated, because Doug Liman movies, there are some really good ones, like Edge of Tomorrow, right? But then you also have something like Jumper with Hayden Christensen.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Don't hate it.
Well, it's not horrible. It's very early 2000s. It has Anakin and Mace Windu in it. But yeah, and Jake Gyllenhaal, I'll watch anything that he's in. So anticipated, very much so. But Ken, people are currently watching on YouTube right now. Want to let them know what's going on YouTube?
Yeah. So again, every Wednesday, when we have an episode, so not including next week because we're going to take a week off because we are switching to covering newer movies. This one was more of a last minute substitution, but each Wednesday we will have a live stream and we will be kind of advertising it. YouTube is where we will have our live stream every Wednesdays, but the following Mondays we also have I guess 2 episodes, the more cleaned up episodes for both our main movie that we do cover and our soup du jour episode for the week. And so to do that, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also don't forget to hit the bell so that you get notifications on new content. So obviously we're going to, schedule our live streams, and then obviously the following Mondays we'll have those videos if you want to check out full episodes of us in living color.
Yes. Or you could put your monitor TV to black and white. That's up to you. You can have the Snyder cut or Godzilla -1 minus color.
Or like in the Harkonnen homeworld, the Kaladin, I think. I finally looked it up after.
Oh. I didn't know there was a name to it.
Yeah, I think I'm right, but fact check me for those Dune fans.
See, he did the research on anyone but you guys for that one scene, but not for Dune Part 2.
I mean, anyone but you was 1 hour shorter. Come on now.
That's true. That's true. If you want to catch us anywhere else, get all the updates, Instagram is a good place to look. That's going to be at Weekly Reel. And for all the other additional videos and shorts, that's going to be on our TikTok at Weekly Reel Pod.
Yes. While it's not banned yet.
Yeah, well, yes. For the time being, it's still alive.
Yes, it is.
Well, guys, that is it for part 1 of the podcast. Part 2 will come up very shortly. We're going to just take a quick break. And there's some interesting stuff that we're going to talk about in part 2. So stay tuned until we talk about our next movie, Roadhouse. We'll see you next time on The Reel.
Welcome back from the break. It's time for another helping of the soup du jour.
Well, what's the soup du jour?
Well, it's the soup of the day.
Sounds good. I'll have that.
Yes, it is good. So, again, the soup du jour is a brand new show that we debuted here in season 7 of the Weekly Reel podcast. It's a new show where we talk about just fun movie or TV topics. Sometimes it's both. But today we are going to be talking about something fun that is movie related. So this week, I mean, again, I'm trying to get all of my TikTok content while it still exists and while it's still allowed here in the US. This week, I actually stumbled upon a few movie TikTokers that I guess were talking about what was like basically a screenshot of some of the best movie sequels in the history of cinema. I know last week me and Jeremy, we talked about one of the better sequels that has come out in recent years, Dune Part 2. Check out that episode. It's now streaming Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Check us out, follow us, subscribe, do all that thing. But in honor of last week's episode, Dune Part 2, we are going to use that same screenshot of the 12 listed movie sequels, and we're going to rank each one of those 12 movies. And so, Jeremy, do you want to actually go through each one of the 12 movies? Because I know the screenshots more of a visual thing, and we have an audio podcast, so we want to kind of let them know what movies show up on this screenshot.
Yes. So, and for those who are actually watching, you're seeing the visual right now. Go ahead and make a quick ranking of while we're talking. We'll go rank your stuff. But starting off from the top left is Dune Part 2. We've got The Empire Strikes Back. We've got The Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. We've got The Dark Knight, Top Gun Maverick, Aliens, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, The Godfather Part 2, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Blade Runner 2049, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and probably the most family-friendly out of the bunch, Toy Story 2.
I think that's a safe bet. Oh, man. So, Jeremy, I'm going to let you get first crack of this. And I'm assuming that there may be a movie or two or maybe even 5. No, I'm just kidding. That you may not have seen. So I understand that we'll probably save those for the bottom tier, I guess. So go ahead and reveal your rankings for all 12 sequels, Jeremy.
Yes. Okay. I haven't seen 5 of them.
Oh, shoot. I just threw that number out arbitrarily out there. I swear I did not know he hadn't watched 5.
Yes. Like, I was surprised. I was like, oh, how the heck did Ken know? But I will say my sequel from 7 to 1, but you won't know which ones I haven't seen. So I am going to go number 7, Dune Part 2. Oh,
Surprise.
Dune Part 2. Yep. We've got number 6, Top Gun Maverick.
Ooh, okay.
Number 5, Toy Story 2.
Okay.
We've got number 4, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 3, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I'll explain it after. People, Star Wars fans, are like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Number 2, The Dark Knight, and of course, at number 1, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Oh, okay. So I actually forgot to mention this before we reveal the rankings. I forgot to put this on my notes because we added it super last minute while we were literally 2 minutes before we went live. But I told Jeremy, I'm like, hey, let's try to guess which of which ones of our list will be number one, and I
Yeah.
was actually right. I figured it was going to be
Yeah.
the
Mine
Arnold,
was too
the one
easy.
lone Arnold movie on this list.
Can I guess your number one?
Do you want to reveal what I think? What you think now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you, probably.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead,
gonna.
and I'll let you know if you're right. We'll
Okay.
we'll,
So
we'll do the whole
I'll
suspense
I'll
thing when I
guess,
reveal it.
and then you can start from the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna guess out of these 12 because you've seen almost all of them.
I've seen 11 out of the 12.
11 out of 12. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm guessing your number one is Godfather Part 2.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to your list. Do you want to kind of break down your 7-1 ranking a little bit?
Yeah. Dune Part 2. I think is there's that space in between Dune and Maverick. I like Dune Part 2, but Top Gun Maverick. When you think about okay, look, but Dune Part 1 versus Dune Part 2, there is that wide gap. I'm like, holy crap. Top Gun and versus Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun's already good, but
Mhm.
Top Gun Maverick is just in another league of its own. Um, but Captain America, T2 Judgment Day speaks for itself. Dark Knight speaks for itself. I think Winter Soldier, people are like, what the hell happened? Okay, remember there was a time when Marvel was actually good. And I think Empire Strikes Back, as much as I love it, I don't think I can like rewatch it every few months. Um, in some aspects, I really enjoy like A New Hope or Star
Mhm.
Wars, the first Star Wars more. Um, so I'm going Winter Soldier. I remember sometimes not. I think I prefer Captain America over Luke Skywalker as much as, but I love Han Solo. Han Solo is my favorite.
By the way, did you know he spoiler alert dies?
So. What? When does that happen? Who
Sorry,
knows?
totally an inside joke.
Yes, I have known even before. I should have known that Han Solo does die.
Oh, shout out to our cousin Ian, if you're listening out there.
And Jax will mention yours after
Yeah.
Ken's. So Ken,
Yeah.
you get first dibs.
All right, let's see if Jeremy's right. All right, so the one lone movie on this list, I don't know if you want to put it up there again, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
So my ranking for the dozen sequel films, at number 12, obviously, just because it's incomplete, Aliens I have not seen yet. But the rest of the movies I have seen. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the 11th for me, only because I don't remember it. I figure if it's something that I probably have only seen once and don't feel the need to rewatch it, it's 11th. And there's a pretty big gap between 11 and 10 because Toy Story 2 is pretty good, and it's number 10 for me. Number 9, I literally just watched last week, Blade Runner 2049, because I was on that Denis Villeneuve kick, and I enjoyed it very much so, and I just enjoyed the scope. Yeah, it's not one of those movies that I'll try to rewatch all the time, but it's such a good movie. Number 8, and again, this may ruffle some feathers, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. This may be a hot take, but I think The Two Towers is actually my least favorite out of the three of the original trilogy, in that I feel like The Two Towers just leans on that final battle. Sorry, spoiler alert. 23-year spoiler alert for The Two Towers. It just leans on the last 30 or 40 minutes or whatever it was of that last battle. I have that number 8. Number 7, Dune Part 2. Recency bias, maybe, but I enjoyed it a lot. How much I liked it, you got to check out episode 113.
Mm-hmm.
Shameless plug. Number 6. I feel like this is where we get to the point where, oh my God, it just gets a little jumbled. Number 6, the best MCU movie that both Jeremy and I like, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Number 5, Top Gun: Maverick. So good. Number 4, and I don't know if it's because, again, I am older than Jeremy, and I grew up on the original Star Wars trilogy, I'm going with The Empire Strikes Back at number 4. Number 3, Jeremy still has a chance of me of being right because I still haven't said The Godfather Part 2. Number 3, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
What?
Only
How
because I
dare
probably
you.
only because I probably haven't seen it recently.
Yeah.
That and man, I think the last time I watched it, I was like, man, Edward Furlong was so annoying in a lot of the
Yeah.
parts. But dude, that movie was probably one of the very first rewatchable movies that I can watch like at any time, pick it up, start watching it, and then just finish the movie the rest of the way. Number 2, I am a Nolan boy. Chris Nolan. Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight. Which means Jeremy is correct in that number 1 is The Godfather Part 2 because it's the reason why I enjoy epic stories. Yeah, I enjoy the popcorn flick, especially in recent years. I mean, I like my top 6 is really top 7 is a lot of popcorn flicks. But The Godfather Part 2 story, and you got to remember, it's coming off the heels of The Godfather, which a lot of people hold in regard to like the best movie, but and like ever. People may even think that Part 2 is even better than the first one.
See, that's what I've heard.
I actually think
someone like you.
I think Part 2 is actually better than the first one. I just think the first one's more rewatchable.
Okay.
But in terms of storytelling, Part 2 is actually better than Part 1.
Okay. So, but
Yeah.
any other one that you want to like emphasize, like in terms of like your ranking? Because you put Star Wars, Empire at
Above Top Gun Maverick,
Yeah.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Nostalgia. And you got to remember, back in the day when it was revealed that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. Remember, you grew up.
Spoilers. Just kidding. Yeah. Yeah.
You grew up already knowing that. But
Yeah,
when
yeah.
that actually came out, it was mind-blowing to a lot of us because again, this was before the internet and everything. So a lot of the stuff and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy watching the Empire of Dreams documentary that's on Disney Plus of the making of the original trilogy. No one knew. And so it was earth shattering. And I still remember how big of a deal that was. But rewatchability, to your point, does kind of play into it. That's why it's only number 4. To like movies like Terminator 2 or The Dark Knight, which I watched a million times on DVD and every other platform since.
I probably watched The Dark Knight in theaters probably 4 or 5 times. Oh well, out of its original run, too.
Yeah.
Because that was insane. Definitely got emotional during that movie. But Terminator 2 was probably the first movie that like Arnold like made me want to cry. You know, because Arnold doesn't usually do that. It's like, I know now why you cry. It's like, no. Because and plus, you know, John Connor would have that annoying voice and all that stuff, but that wasn't enough. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. So even that wasn't enough to detract of that scene. So
there are so many iconic scenes in T2. Oh my god.
Every scene's iconic, man, and even in Dune, I totally forgot. I don't know why they didn't mention this. I'm gonna add it to whatever I said last week. So Dune Part 2, spoiler alerts for Dune Part 2, real quick for the next like minute. What's his name? Paul has this like vision of like the world exploding and there's fire and brimstone. And I was like, this is totally Sarah Connor's nuke vision. I was like, T2 Judgment Day.
I remember watching that as a kid. Still in elementary school. I was a tween. When that scene came out, and remember, this is like more practical more than anything, because that was what, circa 91?
Yeah.
Bro, that freaked me out.
It's freaking out.
Yeah, dude.
The way
Um,
like her skeleton moves.
yeah. And I will admit, back in the day, remember in the beginning, spoiler alert for T2, remember when Eddie Furlong and his mulleted redhead friend, ginger friend, steal money out of the ATM? And it's like, what does he
Easy
say again?
money.
Easy money. Yeah. I really wanted one of those Atari looking things
Yeah.
where he just literally plugs in a card or whatever in the ATM. And I'm like, easy money.
Easy money.
I mean, there were good aspects of Eddie Furlong, but there was a couple of whiny parts where I was like,
Yeah.
it's not rewatchable.
See, Arnold, I feel like for me, Arnold cancels that out. Because
Yeah.
obviously most of his scenes is with Arnold. So
Oh, but dude, we got to highlight the T1000. I forget the name of
Robert
the
Patrick.
Robert Patrick. He was so scary as the villain. Yeah, I think he's one of the best villains of all time, to be honest.
Dude,
And he
yeah,
didn't
that's
say
true.
he barely said anything.
When he makes the little needle thing with the and stabs the adoptive father, the needle to the eye for the security guard, but then especially with the knife with the milk. Yeah, it's like, oh, that traumatized me when I was younger. I probably watched Terminator 2 too young, but
Same. At least you saw it in better quality
Yeah,
when you
that's
eventually saw it in freaking VHS. That thing was not great. I hope they re-release it like on IMAX or something like that.
yeah, I heard their Blu-ray, 4K is disc is horrible, and people should just buy the Blu-ray. It's like that bad. Okay, but I'll mention Jack's list real quick. For show Jax, if you're still here, if you have any supporting comments. So from
That's 9. It's pretty
I
good.
guess he hasn't seen all of them. More than me, I guess. He's seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, then Toy Story, then Godfather Part 2. Whoa, wait a minute. Hang on. He put Empire Strikes Back, Terminator, Maverick. I get why he played Maverick there. Terminator, Maverick. And he put Dune. How dare you?
In his defense, Dune is a really expensive story. And you got to think, I feel like me and Jax have an affinity for more fantasy sci-fi, like epic type, because for me, I enjoy Lord of the Rings, I enjoy Game of Thrones, all that stuff where it's more exposition, a lot of world building and all that stuff. I feel like Jax seems like he has that. I'm just assuming now.
Okay. All right. I'm just surprised that he put Dune over Maverick. I wouldn't be surprised he put Dune over Terminator, knowing him. But over Maverick, I think that's what got me on his list. Then he's got Winter Soldier, I believe it, and then The Dark Knight. Totally, knowing him, that's believable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Maverick one gets me for him.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeremy. Back to your list. Your incomplete list. Out of the 5 movies that you have not watched, what's at the top of your list in terms of movies that you would want to watch next?
I want to watch. I want to watch Aliens next. Another James. This is James Cameron directing Aliens, and for him to do Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and Aliens, I think I really need to see that. Shoot. Wait, okay, but I was about to say, did Joe Jax not put Toy Story?
He did.
But he did. Okay. Aliens. And probably after that, probably Blade Runner.
But you got to watch the first Blade Runner first.
Yeah,
I think we talked about the soft line.
Exactly.
Oh,
but I want to watch. I feel like the cyberpunk world is also another world I like. So I just I've been putting it off, man. I was like, I'm probably really gonna like the Blade Runner world, both movies. So I want to be like in the perfect mood to enjoy both of them.
They're really good. Just watching Blade. Okay, so just to remind audiences, I think I mentioned it last week at the very end of the soup du jour. Um, I remember watching Blade Runner 2049 when it came out in 2017. However, the caveat was I never watched the first Blade Runner before that, so I was completely lost because minor spoiler for the beginning, it's one of those movies where they give you a little bit of something to read in the beginning, and there's your backstory. And then you're supposed to figure that out. The problem with Blade Runner 2049, it's something to watch out for eventually if you do watch it. The font is literally this little.
Holy crap!
So I was like,
Oh man!
oh man, I totally missed stuff.
I'll probably pause it first then.
Well, I was watching it in theaters the first time.
Okay.
So I was like completely lost. And so I never appreciated Denis Villeneuve's epic until last week when I finally watched Blade Runner from, oh my goodness, what's his name, from who directed Gladiator?
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott's Blade Runner 1982. I feel like that movie still holds. It's just obviously it's 1982 and it's supposed to be futuristic of 2019. And I'm like, yeah, 2019 was not like that at all.
That's how I feel when I watch Terminator, man.
Yeah, I know. I enjoy the movie directors just shooting the shot, we'll just say.
Yeah. That's why you gotta be like Halo and be like, it's 2552.
Yeah, I know, seriously. But that way no one for sure will know where the movies will end up. Yeah, it's like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
2015, when they go in the future, I'm like, dude, that was already like 9 years ago.
Shoot. Yeah. Crap. You know, someone today asked me, it's like, what's your favorite movie to rewatch? I was almost gonna say Terminator, but I didn't want to sound like, oh, I'm just a bro. I said Nightcrawler.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, you know, that's a pretty recent movie, and I was like, wait a minute, that was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, time is flying, man.
Time is flying. Oh man. Well, anyway, again, if you want to just chime in, whoever is on the live stream, if you want to give us your list of movie sequels, rank them while you can, and obviously we'll go ahead and put this we'll put a portion of this video on our TikTok for some exclusive content from there. So I like to have fun with our edits on our TikTok. So let's move on to the comment section. And actually, within this comment section, I told Jeremy that we were just, because we're doing our live stream here on March 13th, which is a Wednesday, the Wednesday after the 2024 Oscars. And so Jeremy, I told him that we were going to go interject a couple of Oscar items. And so, Jeremy, I have to ask you, what was your favorite moment from Oscars night?
Okay. I haven't watched the whole Oscars. I watched some clips on YouTube, but crap, that's so hard. Now thinking about it, even from the smallest things I've seen, but I'm gonna go with Arnold and Danny DeVito. I have to go with Arnold. This is always Arnold. And Danny DeVito calling out Michael Keaton. Yeah, Michael Keaton's like, "Bring it on, guys." I love how he jumped straight into being Batman again.
Yeah.
And but the little comedy joke the joke that they said was like, "Oh, how did Batman defeat you?" It's like, and then Arnold, Arnold's a funny guy. So, oh, my greatest weakness, love. Yeah. But then I love Danny DeVito's rebuttal to that. He's just like, how did he defeat you? He threw me out a window.
That was it's too good.
I love that. They still have good chemistry. Still waiting for the sequel to Twins.
Yes.
Which, oh, by the way, quick tangent. Arnold is going to star in a movie with Alan Ritchson, a Christmas movie, a Christmas comedy movie, Reacher and the Terminator.
Oh man. Or Aquaman and Mr. Freeze.
Yes.
We're in
Oh my God.
we're in the DC universe.
Yes. That is the DC universe. Holy crap.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna go with some low hanging fruit. I'm gonna go for a twofer. I'm gonna just mention Ken because,
Yes.
dude, that performance by Ryan Gosling was so freaking good. It was so rewatchable. It was so iconic, and everyone was just awed by the fact that he was actually performing, like legit
Yes.
performing it. It was really good.
It was good. What the hell?
The choreography was funny. And oh man, I it was just subtle, like nods to obviously the movie and everything. Um, he's so talented. The fact that he was able to do the choreography, he was punching. Obviously, it was kind of going off of the choreography within the movie, but they
Mhm.
even did a nod to Marilyn Monroe as well. I enjoyed that. The other part of that, the other half of that was his I guess his presenting or they were talking about stunt work, right? When he went up there with Emily Blunt, his Fall Guy, um, what do you call it, co-star, and
Co-star.
they were doing the whole Barbenheimer rivalry thing. I love the
Yeah.
banter; it was so entertaining.
Yeah, I heard about that. That was totally, for one, the singing Just Ken was definitely my other choice. Some would say a Ken A and a Ken B. And yeah, man, I was just impressed by. At first, I was like, "Oh, is this just a backtrack?" But then when you see him doing the dance moves and giving a little bit of efforts, I was like, "Oh, what? He's actually singing." I knew he could dance and all that stuff,
Hmm.
but before Barbie, I didn't know he could sing.
Yeah. I mean, he sang in La La Land. That was his actual voice.
Yeah.
And I guess he was also in the Mickey Mouse Club, like with Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, among others.
That's insane because he's
Yeah.
he's a pretty low key type of actor.
Yep.
So it's just like, huh, didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, that.
Simu and
Oh yeah, and Bob Marley. We
yeah,
got Shang Chi and Bob Marley
yeah,
with some cameos.
yeah. I was like, oh, I'm so glad that they're there.
Yeah. I enjoy. I watched the video a lot more than I probably should have, but I enjoyed the fact that Billie Eilish in the very beginning of that video was cracking up in the background, and obviously Margot
Yeah,
Robbie was too in the foreground. When Ryan Gosling started the Just Ken song, it was so good.
yeah, in his pink rhinestone suit.
That was good. Yeah. Um. Oh, the other thing I kind of wanted to ask you was there an Oscar winner that got you pumped and hyped?
You know, um, I'm glad Robert Downey Jr. won his Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's because we know him for the Robert Downey Jr. very much like he acts like Tony Stark even off stage, but
Mm-hmm.
for him to be that very aggressive and almost villainous character in Oppenheimer is like I think yeah, it's about time I think for him
Mm-hmm.
to win an Oscar and also honorable mention which to Godzilla -1
Yeah, dude.
for best visual effects. I was like,
Visual effects
yes.
with I didn't realize that their budget was only 15 million.
Yeah, that's insane, right? It's like like when we watched it in I got to watch it in theaters twice, once with you. Um the visuals just blew me away in that movie. So,
Top
I
notch.
think
I'm
well
glad we
deserved.
really went during our hiatus, and it somehow snuck into my top 5.
I bet it would look even better in the minus color version too.
Oh yeah. I might try to rent it whenever it comes out.
I wonder what the
I hope
dub
it's
sounds like.
I hope it streams in both versions.
Oh,
Whenever
kind
it
of like
does.
Justice League Snyder cut.
Yeah, yeah. They'll have two separate streaming options, I guess. One with
Hmm.
color and with one without.
That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
it's too bad that the -1 showing was. I think they only had morning showings that day we saw it, right?
Yeah,
If I remember
yeah, the
correctly.
color one. Sorry, minus color.
Minus color, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
minus color had only like the
morning
like
shows.
morning and early afternoon, so that sucked.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jeremy, we both have day jobs, so it was kind of impossible to watch minus color for -1.
Hmm.
Um, I guess for me, the winner I marked out for, and this is no one's surprise, Christopher Nolan winning his best director. Um, dude, he, we've been fans for. Well, I've been a fan of his since 2005,
Hmm.
since Batman Begins came out.
I probably didn't know his name until probably Dark Knight, being a little bit older at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. But I mean, obviously, I think we've watched most of the movies. I think I'm only missing two: The Following and Insomniac or Insomnia.
Insomnia, yeah.
I still need to complete that. Eventually, I will. Who knows? Maybe I'll do one right before his next release in the next couple years or so. But yeah, I was just really happy. I would imagine it would be like if you were a fan of Leonardo DiCaprio from like his Growing Pains days, or maybe Romeo and Juliet days. The early days. What's
Hmm.
eating Gilbert Grape days, when he finally won for The Revenant. And not that The Revenant may have been his best work, but because he's been so consistent throughout his acting career. I'm talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. He eventually won. He wrestled a bear for his thing, for God's sake. And I feel the same with Christopher Nolan. Yeah, it's arguably not his most rewatchable movie, but I mean, it was my 2023 movie of the year, but even I recognize that it's not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. And I feel like, again, him winning Best Director was more of an achievement over a long period of time with his body
Hmm.
of work.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely could see that. They kind of, it's like, oh, he finally reached the typical Oscar Beatty movie, Oppenheimer, and
Hmm.
so that's like the milestone that he can hit, and that kind of covers all his previous movies. Kind of
Yeah.
like Leo when once he hit The Revenant, which I was like, oh, Jake Gyllenhaal should have won for Nightcrawler that year, but who knows? Maybe that's coming in the future. Um, Once he probably does a Oscar Beatty movie, and then it probably won't be as crazy as a performance as Nightcrawler, but it's
Mhm.
actually for Nightcrawler, it'll probably happen.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, since we're on topic of Christopher Nolan, I don't know if we've discussed this question, since we're talking about him winning Best Director. If it were up to you,
Hmm.
which movie should have won him a Best Director? At the
Okay.
earliest point of his career. If it were up
Oh,
to you, if you were the sole voter, the only voter.
holy crap! Probably The Dark Knight. I feel like that movie, even though it's a superhero movie,
Yeah.
it's like it's it's got the action, it's got the drama, but like the writing, the pacing, it's I don't know. I probably would have gone Dark Knight because I think Inception is even more of a blockbuster movie than The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Interstellar, I feel like has more holes in it, but and it's a space movie.
Hmm. Hmm.
The Dark Knight, it's like that crime organ. Like I feel like it meets that good medium between what the Oscars usually choose and what I would choose. So I'd probably go Dark
Mm.
Knight.
I'm gonna say Memento just because it came out before Dark Knight. I love Memento. Man, that
Memento
movie
is
is so
good.
good. I feel like
Uh,
at the very least, he should have been nominated, because I feel like Dude, I feel like he was ahead of his time, and no pun intended, I mean, just because he was playing with time in that movie.
I love Memento so much. It's so jarring of a movie.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like The Prestige also is really good. It's a Oscar kind of baity type movie, a little bit about magic of all things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that came out before The Dark Knight as well in 2006. Check out our Prestige episode, season 1.
Yeah, damn, that was season 1?
Yeah, that
What
was
the
season
heck?
1. Yeah. I discovered that it's streaming on, I want to say Hulu, because I was like, "Ooh, should I watch The Prestige again?" No, no, no. Sorry, I think it may have been Apple TV Plus, if I'm not mistaken. Let's fact check that.
Just real quick.
Yeah, because The Prestige is so good. I mean, obviously it has Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman,
Michael Caine.
Scarlett Johansson. But yeah, Apple TV Plus. Still not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Any other random Oscar thoughts?
See, I don't know
Before we
why
move
there
on.
was a floating envelope on stage for best costume design. It's like all of a sudden just like was there on stage, just floating envelope. I don't understand that. That was
Yeah, that
weird.
was
It's a
very
cool magic trick though.
Yeah, it's very strange. I don't know if that was CGI or if they did do that practical, how they actually did that.
Yeah, probably on strings. And then all of a sudden a voice came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Kind of sounded like John Cena,
Yeah.
but and
But
then he must have been like off stage or something.
yeah, then the floating card just went away.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
walked
weird.
away. Yeah, it was just weird.
I think, but yeah, not my favorite moment, but you know, it was a highlight. It's like we went through the whole bit.
Damn it. I was trying to keep a straight face the entire mini segment.
Yeah, everyone knows John
Oh,
Cena
shit. Yeah.
he was there.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode with one last thing. And so, for those that have been faithful fans of the Weekly Reel podcast, we started this journey with a podcast ritual where we would suggest one movie or TV show to watch. And so, for season 7, we decided to toss this in at the end of the soup du jour and repackage it as one last thing. So, Jeremy, what is one movie or TV show that you would like to send us off with as far as a recommendation?
Ooh, I am gonna go. Like, okay, I started the show that I mentioned offline to you, but I haven't finished the first episode yet, so I'm not gonna mention it. You can if you want to. I'm gonna go with the show called Tracker on CBS, starring Justin Hartley, Green Arrow himself. So
Ah,
from
yes.
Smallville,
Yes, from
we gotta reference
Smallville.
Smallville all
Of
the
course.
time.
I mean, it's two references in one episode again with
Of
Alan
course.
Richardson.
Of course, it's a little Justice League on the small screen, man. But yeah, Tracker. It's on Paramount Plus. We're not sponsored, but I think it's not the greatest show, but it's one of those shows that I like to just watch to not think about anything else. It's kind of like a popcorn show.
Okay.
You don't have to listen too closely.
Wait, did the show just start? Are we in season 1 or?
Yeah, we're on season 1. I believe the first 4 or 5 episodes have come out now. Yeah.
And it's weekly when it comes out?
Yeah, it's weekly. I
Okay.
wish I could binge it.
when do new episodes come out?
I think Sunday night. It sounds like I'm pitching it for them. Send me some Tracker merch, maybe something from Justin Hartley. But yeah, it comes out Sunday nights, and I usually watch like on Paramount Plus on like
There you go.
Monday or Sunday night.
Right. And we're still not sponsored by Paramount Plus.
Yes.
Speaking of Paramount Plus, my one last thing actually streams there. Actually, technically on Showtime, but through Paramount Plus. The movie that I want to highlight for one last thing, I mean, we just talked about the Oscars. It's one of the Best Picture nominees that I've been wanting to watch. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago. I finally watched Past Lives.
Nice.
Oh my god.
No
got triggered.
spoilers.
I got triggered a little bit.
Okay. Oh,
Let's
crap.
just say this movie reminds me of 500 Days of Summer.
No. No. Oh crap. That's high praise right there.
I love this movie, but a lot of this stuff just kind of hit a little too close, we'll just say.
Oh
So
no.
that's all I'll say. Jeremy, I think you'll enjoy this movie, but maybe enjoy won't isn't probably the word I the adjective I should have probably used, but I think you will like this movie.
Okay.
I will recommend it for you, and I will recommend it to those that love 500 Days of Summer. Definitely watch Past Lives. I'm glad I finally watched it. Again, streaming on Showtime through Paramount Plus. Still not sponsored.
Good. All right.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, let's wrap this up. I want to thank those of you in the live audience and those of you listening on your favorite podcast app. Thank you for joining us this week. Again, you'll see me and Jeremy in 2 weeks.
Yeah. 14 days. All right, fine, 2 weeks.
Yes, you will see us in 2 weeks for the Roadhouse remake on the reel.